I am going to overshare in this episode because that is what I've been doing for 8.5 years. And on May 31st is my 100th email newsletter. And I usually do 2 or 3 behind the scenes videos of overall the channel. And I'm going to go into everything. I'm not holding back this time because back in September when I had the 8th anniversary video, it's the last time I did this, I went over the gear on the wall. So if you want to see what the gear is, go see that video. But I said I was going to talk about a lot of things and then never made an update video because I try to keep these to a minimum. And also there's a lot of plates I'm spinning. And I think it might be interesting to some of you on what those plates are because when channels that I watch talk about their behind the scenes, I really enjoy those. I don't know if it's because I make YouTube videos or just because I like the behind the scenes almost more than the channels themselves. MKHD or Linus Tech Tips or even the Mr. Beast stuff I find almost more interesting than their channels themselves. Buckle up. I'm going to share the noise in my head and where we have come from. I like to summarize that for new people on the channel so they don't have to go and watch 600 videos to catch up. As of May of 2025, while I film this, I have 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12 employees. It's dynamic right now. We just hit 450,000 a month 2 months in a row. So that's about $5 million a year in sales. If you do the extrapolation station, I have $1.2 million a year in bills now. That is wild. And I have put out about 1,000 videos, 300, almost 400 shorts, almost 700 longs. And I do a lot of the niche behind the scenes stuff on my BTS channel where I go into the weeds on something. It's mostly intended for business owners or people who are trying to either edit or learn SKUs or deal with Shopify because I find that there's a lot of niche stuff that is not covered online because there's no incentive, because there's not a lot of views. It's hard to reach the audience that it needs to hit, but I still like oversharing on the internet because the more I share, the more stuff comes back, and this feedback loop has gotten us to this point. So I did not start a climbing store until October 2023 is when we opened the doors. And there's no we, it was me for the first many years. And then I've had help make content, but the editing, the producing of it, the publishing of it, has all been me up to this point. So Bobby's helped. He's probably been on the channel the most. Brent Roth's been on the channel. I've made videos with different people who have helped make the content better because I don't know everything. I ran out of new stuff to say about 7 years ago. So everything I say, I have to go learn it and then say it. And it's really helpful when I have somebody who stands here who knows what they're talking about. 2016 to 2018, I was just showing people how to rig highlines. How not to highline was the original name of the channel. And then I hit the wall of the basic stuff that people knew, and I realized that I needed to break things in order to answer things. And so I learned how to pull things with my van and against some trees, and I did 2-to-1s and 2-to-1s on 2-to-1s on 2-to-1s, literally that many, and then pulled with my van. And then I did like 200 brake tests like that, very slow to do it that way. And I did that for a year or two, and then I built my first brake test machine, which was a little archaic with a Costco winch and some pulleys. And that was really nice to work at this height. And then I started testing some climbing gear because I was a climber before I highlined. And those videos tend to do way better than my highline videos. And there's YouTube ad revenue is a myth. It's just I was a painting contractor. I did this as a hobby. I didn't even turn on ads for 2 or 3 years. And I reverse calculated what I would have got paid if I just didn't even turn them on. I think I lost a couple grand, $6,000, I think, not turning it on because I didn't realize how it stacks. When you post 200-300 videos on the internet, they all trickle in a little. The size of the channel is now, I only bring in about $2-3 grand a month. Well, that's not bad. Not when you spend $100,000 a month to make it, but whatever. So I was this hybrid channel for about 2 years while I was highlining and climbing. And the climbing videos did better. And then when I had 40,000 subscribers, which no one should quit their day job for 40,000 subscribers, and a year after 2020, so I did a whole year of trying to run a business during COVID. And then I decided at 40,000 subscribers at that point, I sold everything, quit my job, and tried to make this a living. Now, I didn't really have a good plan on that. And I just, I had enough runway by closing. I couldn't sell it by closing my business. And then I tried to figure out how to make the channel sustainable. I was doing donations a little bit up to that point, but then I like really leaned into that more. And I moved and rented a room from my welder who helped me break the brake test machine. So we made a better one, and we made a drop tower. And that's, you'll see these phases in the videos, depending how far back you go. Well, I got up to about 80,000 subscribers, and I won the girlfriend lottery, and I moved up to Seattle to redeem my prize. And that's why I moved up here from California, where I did live 2 hours from Yosemite, and I've been there like 300 times. And that's why there's so much Yosemite context within the channel. So the best time to redesign and reinvent how you do brake tests is right in the transition of moving out of state. So that's why I have a new brake test machine, as I did that because it had to fit. The other one was 20 feet long, and this one had to fit in a room because having this stuff either in a garage or back of a shop sucks. So having something climate controlled really, really helps make content more reliably. And so I had to build out what you see here when you watch these videos. Due to the nature of the shit testing I do to gear, I tend to repel sponsors. Not that climbing brands are that eager to sponsor anybody, but when you're shit testing their products, at least in their mind, that's what you're doing, they're afraid of you. They're afraid you're going to find a flaw or not understand their product and then blast that all over the internet, which is a fair concern, and I try not to do that. So sponsorships just don't work in the context of what I'm doing. Even Mr. Beast has to sell chocolate because ad revenues at $4 million a video doesn't pay for the amount of production value he does. You'll notice the trend that any channel you watch has something else that they're trying to sell you. And sponsors, I don't really want to put a 30-second ad for Brilliant or Skillshare or BetterHelp. I hate that crap. And so I promoted Extreme Gear for 18 months. And that I thought was a good idea on paper because in theory, if somebody sells everything, then I can just talk freely about all of it and I'd have easier access to the gear because my videos were getting more and more in depth. So it's really helpful to have access to gear. And so that planted the seed into this idea of selling everything that I talk about, because then I can be gear agnostic about what I talk about. Because something has to fund this. My goal, by the way, which I should have brought up earlier, is to answer every question about life supporting gear. I don't think it's that hard. I mean, it is possible, but it's not cheap. And so no one was picking up the bill past the Bernie Sanders method of $1 from everybody stoked on you. I didn't have somebody dropping $1 million on this. And Instron told me no when I asked for a free UTM or brake test machine. And so you're like, I need to figure out how to make a lot of money. And so starting a climbing store in retrospect, it's kind of dumb. If you're trying to make money to do a thing, but it pairs so well with what I'm doing that even though there's no money in the climbing industry, it still is helping because it pairs so well with the fact that my audience is watching because they're climbers. Not everybody climbs though, which is kind of cool that we attract people who don't climb, but also just engineers with me not having an engineering degree because I'm doing engineering things. So I stopped promoting Extreme Gear as soon as I found out they weren't reliably putting stuff in the mail. They didn't have in stock what the website had in stock. People would order it, and then it just kind of sucked to find out that how drop shipping worked because I didn't know. I don't know how drop shipping worked. And it's like basically the merchant doesn't have the thing and then they got to order it from the vendor. And I'll tell you right now, I have 90 vendors and they all are bad at getting you something reliably. It's like they might put it in the mail within 3 days if you're really lucky. But that's also because half of them have to make the thing or they just B2B sales. It's not that critical that people are in that big of a hurry. You don't want to subject the end user to the supply chain cluster that's out there because that exists. And that's my job as a retailer to smooth that out for you. But when I'm being like, take your money and non-consensually subject you to all that, oh my God, when I found that out, I was refunding people with my own money terminated that, but I have all this momentum promoting a shop. And I was like, shit. And so from end of June to October, I, without any retail experience, had to figure out how to start a store because I had just enough money that I didn't lose in crypto to still saved up from being hyper responsible for 20 years. And I threw all of it into the store. So now I have a store, and I have hired 2 people up to that point because I wanted it to be super reliable. I wanted the shipping to be the day you order it. From the beginning, we treated every order with the guarantee we have now, because I wanted to make sure it worked before I told everybody about it, that if we don't ship your order the day you order it, your order is free. Because if it says it's in stock, it's the only way you could buy something, if it's in stock, and then I put in the mail. And I know that I am home a lot more than I want to be. I am going on a rare trip to Yosemite next week. But I want to make sure there's people putting stuff in the mail while I'm out of town, or unavailable, or busy, or doing other stuff like making a video. I don't want that to be just weighing on me. I really liked how natural it felt to promote something that I worked hard on, rather than promoting something that was external. And so the store did well in our first month of being open. We did 30,000 in gross sales. And that was pretty much the highest that we were at with Extreme Gear after 18 months of pushing it, right? Same idea, an e-commerce store with roughly the same gear and me promoting it exclusively. And it just worked well. And then the next month, November, was 50K. And then went, because that was Black Friday sales, and then 40K. And from 40K, we grew every month 50%, month over month over month, for like 6 months. And we got up 40 to 60 to 90 to 120 to 180 to something, like we hit 200,000 a month in sales. And at this whole time, I had 2 people, and we're making product pages, we're ordering stuff. And for context, is I had 400,000 cost to me on the shelf. And that's pretty hard to do because that's called ASAP ordering, where you don't tell them in advance you want it, you order it ASAP. And usually things like that are pre-seasoned when you're going to order large quantities of things. So for me to start the store, the only reason I was able to is because everyone over-promised on purchasing because of COVID numbers, and went, whoa, we don't have the sales we thought we were going to have, screwed all the vendors. Now they're stuck with all this inventory, and I just show up new, and I go, hey, can I ASAP a bunch of stuff? I don't even know what ASAPs are. And I was able to stock my shelves. So that worked out. And so I have the stuff on the shelf. We have the product pages. I didn't miss a Wednesday long episode. We were posting shorts throughout this whole thing. And so running all the content while getting 2 years of retail experience in 3 months, that was a lot going on. And so my original team of 2 people that would work 4 days and 4 days, so we were operating all 7 days with 1 day of overlap, and it worked pretty good because they're Swiss Army knives. They generalists, they could do everything, and so they could cover for each other, they could do everything, they could be there by themselves, and it's manageable to put 10 things in the mail every day. And then work on product pages or something. But the store was growing. And so in May, it just bottlenecked too much. And by the way, I started this in my garage. It's already risky enough to buy a bunch of inventory. So I had a 3-car garage, and that's how that worked. That's why I was kind of quiet about about more of the store aspects of things. I don't know how obvious it was on the channel. But May 2024, I've hired a whole bunch of people, and it just, like, man, we're trying to figure out how storage sheds work because we had just too much stuff, right? So we moved into a place with rent, and that was scary. And I was doing 200,000 a month in sales, which, for context, there's typically a 40% margin on stuff, give or take, mostly take. And then if you run any sales, 1% of orders get screwed up by the mailman. We always take care of the customer. We don't stick them with stuff like that. No, insurance is a myth. You cannot, not worth it. It takes 3% to pay for the credit card fees. It's 7% on average for the fulfillment, like to mail it. Free shipping is not free. And then there's about 20% to work with if there's a full price item on average. So could pay the bills. It was a little like nerve-wracking to hire so many people. And then it was really scary, to be honest, to rent a place. And by the way, I'm not taking any money at this point. What I'm living on at this point was a little bit of Patreon money, YouTube ad revenue, a little bit of Rocky Talkie side money, right? 10% off for the rockytalkie.com/hownottoo code. And then credit card points, because I'm buying all the, some of the stuff on credit cards, and then you get the cash back. And so I'm just kind of scraping off of what I can to sustain myself through this thing, so I don't take anything out of the store. So the rent that I have is, with utilities and like the building, is $6,000 a month for 2,000 square feet. And it's not even like, it's office flex unit style. It's not even retail. Retail would be 15 grand a month, but we don't have walk-ins. Like, my audience is everywhere. It's kind of a shame that it's so hard to ship internationally, because I'm missing out on 60% of my audience people express they want to buy from me. It's just, there's a dotted line that makes that difficult, especially now with tariffs. So we got the flex unit, and I just, right, the pressure to pay all these bills, I got more stuff. I made more helpful videos, and we got up to 300,000 in a month, and it stayed there. And then I realized that we still only had about 400,000 costing me on the shelf, right? Gross sales costing me is kind of a skewed number, but it's how a lot of retail people talk. So then I was like, well, how do we grow? Because I'm still, at this point, the CEO, CFO, CMO, the GM, the buyer, and the talent, and the editor. And it's like, whoa, I need to be able to hire these roles, and I can't afford to do that. I can afford what I have at this point, but I can't afford to unload the rest of this stuff. And I still have yet to afford any help to help me with the channel, which is ironic. I'm going around the long way to hire help. So I sold every investment I have, HSAs, Roths, the last little crypto that I found. And the goal was to put it all in the store and try to double the amount of inventory we had on the shelf. And 100% of profit is going back into this machine, right? So if we could double what we have on the shelf, we should be able to maybe not double sales, but we'd at least get a little bit more. So it took from October 2024 up until, I think, just last week, we finally hit 1 million on the shelf, because I was trying to get to 1 million on the shelf. And it just took so long to order more stuff and get it. Then like we'd run out, which is good, but we'd run out. But just like, if you don't have it and you're obsessed with only selling stuff that you have in stock, you have to have the stuff. And I'm like, wow, I sure missed the bloodbath from COVID, because if you can't get stuff and people have money to buy and you can't sell them anything, that would have sucked to be a retailer back then. Because as a painting contractor, I was busy. So, supply chain issues are at baseline difficult, and nothing's in theory wrong right now. Finally, doubled what we got on the shelf, but I didn't hit my second goal, which was double the amount of output of content that we have. Because there's sometimes a week will go by and I don't post a long, or sometimes I don't even post shorts. I went 8 years without missing a Wednesday. I was really dedicated to being consistent. Consistent meant more to me than quality. And I study YouTube. Quality is more important than consistency. The big channels typically only post once a month and they crush it. But it's not just about numbers for me. I just really value consistency. I really value reliability in anything we do with the shop or anything we do here. So sometimes they're just update videos, right? And sometimes they're 6 brake tests. And this last video I did with the stick clip thing took me like 40 hours. And this is the shirt I was wearing for it, because I've been wearing this shirt for 3 days. Because that video took me 3 days to film, and I want it to not look like that, because it's a 20-minute video. I don't want to, unless I build in story, which in this video, you will see me wear another shirt when I show you the store tomorrow. But, yeah, there's a lot that goes into making some videos, but then I run out of gas, and I can't make them that complicated every time yet. We are hiring a producer. It is the next thing we're hiring. I'm very excited. Hownottto.com/hiring. If you are interested in helping steer the story of the content we are making. Because I am contemplating doing a break test video where we break test 400 ropes. So that takes time, and I need help before I try to bite that off. What I do need to be careful of is to not bring in help and then triple how complicated I make the videos. I need to bring in help at the level I make them now, and then more help if I want to make them more complicated. And that is something I'm trying to work on, is to not sabotage myself. So I'll let you know how that goes. So while I'm increasing all this inventory, we are gratefully hitting 300,000 a month in sales every month. Well, that doesn't allow me to spend money. Like I don't feel comfortable hiring too many more people. But then we hit 450. And I think what happens is when you go to the slow season, things drop, but we were increasing and it just looks flat on my line when I'm putting I'm doubling how much effort I'm putting into the thing and it stays flat. Well, that's because it would have halved. I get it now. So now we're entering busier season. People are scared that tariffs are going to make things go up. They did. They are. And so they unloaded a bunch of money, but now we're at 450 a month now. And so now I was able to hire a COO to help run not just the store, but really help develop every department we're going to be building. And they would be hiring the GM. I was trying to skip a level instead of hiring a GM by hiring the person who would hire the GM. And the we're not ready for that yet, but we are ready for a producer. And we might be interested in having another engineer soon, and then a GM. So back in October 2024, 6 months ago, I figured out how to do a P&L that I understood. I do my own books. I think that's really helpful I do my own everything. I build my own machines. I think it's really helpful to understand something before you delegate it off, especially your numbers. And cost of goods sold, I know it's a simple formula in a textbook, not a simple number. And that's what the BTS channel is all about. And finally figured out how to calculate if we actually have profit. And so I think we had profit somewhere around September, October. And it seems like every other month we have zero and then a lot and a zero and a lot. And I think it's just really hard to calculate what inventory people owe us and what we owe people. What we owe people is pretty simple. I rarely owe people. But when you place a 30, we've got 10,000 Practibolts because we now make and distribute them where we license that from Mr. Practibolt. And you're sitting on parts that are coming, trickle in, and you kind of have 25 grand sitting there for 4 months while we're trying to do that. You order the stuff from Lapas. I'm ordering 50 grand of bolts at a time now. And now we're boating that stuff, which is, it's a whole nother animal. And so it's wow, all the HMPE. I just brought in 28 kilometers of HMPE. And so keeping track of have I paid? Oh, I paid a deposit on that. I haven't. But if you're off by just one thing, or something was in the back and somebody marked it off as received, but it's not on the shelf and then the computer doesn't spit it out, you could be off by 30 grand. And that's all the money, right? And that profit, it's nice to have 30 grand. But when you're trying to build up this inventory to stock everything, 30 grand is it feels like a drop in the ocean. And you got to pay taxes on it before you can even put it on inventory. Because buying the inventory is not a cost. It's only an expense once you sell it. So, yes, retail's a cash-heavy, wild industry. When you make money painting a house, you know how much the paint costs you, you know how much the person who helped you cost you because they helped you for 3 days. It's not that hard to do the math, especially if you understand payroll taxes. And even if you're off by a little bit, you're off by $300. But you can do the math. You keep the rest. Retail, you keep almost nothing all the time. But once we figured out how profit worked, started a profit sharing program because I do want to share 10% with my team. And really that sounds so simple, but it gets complicated. Or maybe I just complicate it. I want to build a culture of problem solvers and systems. We need good systems. We cannot scale to $1 million a month if we have the current problems we have now. Right now, they're kind of manageable, but these need to get solved. You get to here and you hit new problems. That's fine. You solve those. But if you're not solving this as you go, you're going to have a disaster. And so if you solve a problem in a permanent way and you create a system, you can take your hand and in the cookie jar and money goes into the bonus pot. And that was the first time I started, well, it was a couple months after that, I started taking a salary. And it's 40 hours of the lowest wage in the company. I work more than 40 hours, but it didn't seem right to take nothing. Then it's just kind of like subsidized. And then eventually you take money. Like I wanted it to be fair-ish. So we're trying to like grow in these steps. And what's funny is any leftover money I have, because I only live off about 50, 60 grand a year, goes, I just put it back in. So weird circle. But what else am I going to invest in, right? This is the thing I'm pouring myself into. Let me tell you real quick why I believe in this. I think it's really helpful to have the things when people show up. As a climber, like everyone was always out of totems, right? I buy 100 of every size every 2 months. Of every size every 2 months. So we don't run out. I think we ran out for like a week once of one color. But since we started carrying totems, I've not ran out. I really, really care about having the thing when you show up, having the variety, and we have $1 million of the weirdest shit. We don't have clothes. We don't have, I stopped getting hiking poles. People weren't buying those. I don't have backpacks and, well, I have niche ones. I don't have tents. Like this is just this much of the pie of all these gear companies like Backcountry and REI. And I think that's really cool. This is my point of view right now. There's a portaledge right there. And that is a D2P that is really cool because we are going to be the first climbing store that I'm aware of, the only one, I think, to carry 9 different portaledges and their flies in stock because that's not profitable. Like I might be sitting on those for years. But there's a 3-person portaledge? I didn't. That's sick. And for some people want that. There's 1-person portaledge, several actually kind of 1-person portaledges. We're actually going to be filming Freebird's multi-ledge this weekend. That's a new one. And it's like, to carry all of them is really, really cool. And to have the flies and the little accessories that go with them. And even Line Scale 3, we made a rubber case for it. And the software. The software not for inside of it, but to print out the CSVs. So I try to add value to the community through the store. It's not just to earn money for the expensive brake tests. And then 25% of our cash, 25% of our expensive space, and 25% of the content, the airtime that I have to tell people about products, goes towards bolts, which I have intentionally made to where we don't make money. There's, exactly did the math, 20% margin. And if people sign up for the Bolter Plus thing, to me, it's more of a respect thing. Like, if you're going to buy a lot of bolts, it's a lot of, work on our part. $99 that you're committing to us for all the value we're doing. And in return, we're going to give you all the bolts you want at cost, like $0 margin. And that is stupid. But I think the bolters are they do it for free, right? So they put in a ton of work. I think that is the way I like giving back. When people ask for sponsorships or pro deals or event sponsored, I typically say no. Cash out of my pocket is pretty hard to get out because we're already doing, we're investing so much into this thing we're doing. I don't have enough money yet, while I still am doing 4 or 5 other jobs still, to be paying cash out of my hand. Hopefully when we get bigger someday, I would like to be the thing that takes the edge off for climate events, coalitions, all these things that do ask for money, that I'd be able to say yes. And it'd be nice for climbers who are trying to make a living being a professional athlete to make that possible for them. I have a soft spot for all of that, but until I can hire people to do every job I'm doing, I'm technically not making money. If I hired somebody to be the GM, the CEO, the CFO, right? I do all the book stuff. I have the team help me like count everything, but like I do the books, right? So if I had somebody help make the content, edit the videos, any of that, God, that would cost me so much money in payroll. So once I have those expenses covered, I'm gonna just keep pouring money into the machine and making it more and more valuable for everybody. Something I'm realizing is I want to make sure that our bolts are like, I hate call for pricing. I hate that call for pricing thing, but like the Bolter Plus membership might be like you have to apply for it eventually, because if contractors found out how good the prices were and we were starting to carry more and more normal bolting stuff, man, that would suck to have to fulfill an entire company's worth of bolts for free for $99. So I'd figure that out. New problems to have once we hit a certain size. But man, we move a lot of bolts now, and bolts and hangers, and we have almost every solution. We're getting more into the niche now, but it's pretty cool to have a little bit of everything. We have a handful of removable bolts now, and we're going to keep developing more and more because if we're moving enough product, we can hit MOQs or minimum orders with factories and get things custom made. Something I haven't brought up in videos yet. I'll make more of a big deal out of it later, but you're deep enough into this one, and not everybody will be, that I don't mind sharing. Climbing Taiwan is going to be on our team. He is an English teacher, and his wife helps him, and they're not able to make any money selling bolts to me because he also undercuts himself. So, and they live in Taiwan. He grew up in California, and they're going to stay in Taiwan, and they're going to work for How Not To, and more or less be on How Not To's payroll. So then he'd be able to do it full time, quit his other job, do it full time, and they'd both get paid for their time. And they'd be able to put more into it because of that. And I think they bring a lot of value to the table, being over there, knowing what they know, and also being able to help me with more content, because Kevin makes content. And he can help me flesh out the bolting Bible with the producer, with my book editor, right? With the designer we've got that I don't have any content for them to design. But I'm like kind of got this whole team that if I could just pour some gas on it, we could have a great bolting Bible. Because I haven't updated it since we started carrying all this stuff, which is really ridiculous. But like just to have them on the team is going to be really helpful. And Bobby is going to, we're going to try having him work here. It'll be kind of more of a freelance gig, but he's going to come work on very specific projects. I've been working on this cam episode for over a year, and I've had 3 or 4 people attempt to take it over the finish line, and I think it's just so complicated, it's hard. We're going to eventually finish that, and I think you're going to really like it, and it's going to be the most helpful cam information out there, and you're going to know more cams than you need to. But he's going to take that project over the finish line because he knows how we do things here, and he knows enough about climbing, and he knows and paying him gives him the time he needs to do the stuff that's not fun. He's helped me a lot on this channel, but a lot of it's showing up to do the filming. We'd put in long days and do hard stuff. But after we were done filming, I would be editing it, and I'd be prepping stuff, or I'd be dealing with building my brake test machines. And then I'd have to make sure everything's ready when he shows up. It's going to be really awesome to have Bobby 2.0 helping us make the really, really hard content, because even my producer's not going to have time for these really complex videos. It's nice to have specialists do the majority of the work. So a general workflow of how we make content is we try to find the thing that is going to be the most interesting to people that's within our wheelhouse. And unfortunately, what I can pull off by next Wednesday. I don't like that constraint. I want 4 weeks in the bank and be working on something with a little bit of wiggle room and have multiple people on it so I don't have any errors. Apparently, I used the Trango squid stick clip wrong for one of the things in the video I just published, but I spent like too long working on it, right? I'm just literally out of time. And you got to hit publish. It's literally where super good enough phrase came from. I don't think it's detrimental to the content of the video, but I would like it to be right. And so if we had more time and stuff, we would. But once we have an idea that is either a short that went viral or a forum that's just got 500 comments in it that you'd be like, a lot of people are arguing about this. That'll make great content. Or I've been asked 100 times to do something. That is also just a good indicator that it's worth doing. Then we make the video and we go in deep as we can. And then typically whatever stories that I can tell in 60-second bites is what gets turned into shorts, and they get either dispersed that week or throughout the year. You just kind of pick them out. I usually don't have enough shorts in the bank to put it 6 weeks out to remind people that this long exists. So they kind of just all get smashed together. The email newsletter every week is what summarizes the shorts and the longs. And the whole point of those was to summarize the changes in the books. Because yes, there is an algorithm that'll tell you whether or not I have a full episode or a short that's come out, but there's no way for you to know if we've updated the Bulletin Bible. Well, if I just wrote the Bulletin Bible instead of writing emails, I would have been done with the Bulletin Bible. But May 31st is going to be my 100th newsletter, which I have never skipped a Saturday, and I write them myself. What I'm most excited about is I finally feel good enough at it, now that I've done 100 of them, to put more energy into that. We'll get into that in a second. But it does go into the newsletter. And then what we learned out of that is going to be written into the most concise, dense thing we can get it into. That's fun to read, and it would go in either the Bulletin Bible if it's bolts, breaking gear for if it's climbing or just gear, general gear related, or a knot book if it's a knot. Because I think this information, if we're going to go through all the work, especially the complex break tests and the material science we're going to get into, that like is put in whatever flavor that people want. And now that AI is a thing, it's like I want to maybe build an app with an API into ChatGPT that would be able to, you just have a conversation with an app that we have that it's just like anything we've ever done, we would have it trained good enough to where you could it could answer you and point you exactly to what part of what video the thing was in. So every question will be answered about life supporting gear. AI is around the corner. If we just break the stuff, it'll help us organize it, especially if I have a big team. And if we pour a couple $1 million into testing things, shit, people are like, oh, that's an audacious goal. I'm like, yeah, it's maybe only 5 years once we build the team to answer everything and then just chase forums on whatever's being asked and be able to break stuff faster than people can ask. Back to the newsletter is we do giveaways at the bottom, and it is a simple Google form that helps it be something physical that we give away. So it's more fun to do that. We were doing gift cards for a while, but that was just like, I don't know, felt like it was farting into the wind, right? I want to give away a thing. And it helps talk about that thing and point to videos we made about that thing in order to make the giveaways harder on ourselves and more complicated, because I couldn't just possibly let them be a stick clip. That when we gave away an experience to Spain and some cash, we were part of like 6 companies that all pooled together for an experience giveaway. And I was like, ooh, I like that. What if we gave away access to us, me and whoever else is on the channel? I was like, well, it would be really cool if Brent from Avant did it with me. And so come climbing with for a day with Brent and I, and how do you deal with the liability aspects of that? And it's like, okay, we'll go with the guide. We'll most likely just pay for the guide with a legitimate place we go with a legitimate insurance. And we would all 3 be clients under their guide-esque. And we would all go climbing, and we'd all hang out with the guide and them. And then the guides are getting promoted. And the more we do that, like the guides would be the thing you were signing up for. And then depending how often we do this, I would go as much as I can, or Bobby would go, or Brent Roth would go canyoning with you. And I kind of like whore out my friends. And it is, I think, a really cool way to meet some of the audience. Not, it's only one winner, right? But also we're doing a cash prize. Like, because I want to cover the travel expenses up to a certain point. And if you live close, or we go to the place you live near, and it doesn't cost you that much in travel, then that $1,000 we set aside for you to have this prize can be gear, gift card. And that's another cool part I like about the store is you can do gift cards and give away gear. Can't do that if you're paying full price for gear. And so why am I so obsessed about getting people to sign up for the newsletter? Well, algorithms are changing very quickly, and you cannot depend on them to share your stuff with an audience you spent almost a decade building. I have almost a decade of experience making something watchable, which helps, and algorithms like to promote stuff that is watchable, which is good. I appreciate that as a consumer. But I know there's people out there who would like to see my stuff, and they are not going to see it if we can't stick it in their inbox. So having a direct connection to the audience is essential for the safety of How Not To. And that's why we push it so hard. Sending out emails is way more expensive than I thought. We have 35,000 people currently on the email list, and it is a couple $100 a month to send out 4 of those, plus the emails that automatically get sent out when you get an order confirmation or something. We don't send out spam. There's no sale up, summer sale. No, there's a block this big in the middle of every email, but the way I write it is not salesy. It's about what value it adds to the community or what's new or how niche it is. And it is the stuff we carry, and I'm trying to sell it, but it's definitely not, I don't want to be spammy. I want to be helpful. That is a super North Star here. But then Klaviyo has these tracking URLs, which is helpful for data. It's nice to know what people are clicking on because I have no feedback loop, right? YouTube has a like button and comment section. And so what I'm going to try to do is come up with my own URLs where it's just click.hownotto/something that doesn't piss off your VPN so more people can click the stuff. And then I would like to have under each block, because we have a main article, almost never sells anything, is really just pure 100% helpful. Then longs and shorts are typically about stuff, right? But a thumbs up or did you like this section or a feedback, so the audience can be more engaging in the email and let us know what they liked or didn't like about a certain section so we can steer what they are. Is it nice to have quizzes, show a break test and at the bottom have the quiz answer? Is it longer or shorter? Is it nice to have shorter emails on Wednesday and Saturday? I get the Morning Brew newsletter, and it's long. It's really long. Whoa, long, but emails get clipped once they're over 122 kilobytes. Bet you didn't know that. And for a while we were having all of our emails cut off halfway down unless you hit the 3 dots, which no one does. So I learned it's the size of the HTML code. And when you use these things to make it so you don't have to use HTML, they're very HTML heavy. And so we have to almost just HTML code our emails without these intermediate things. It's just the complexity goes deep if we're trying to make something that would be better than Climbing Magazine. We want the articles to be really good. The content's obviously all the work we put in here. The store information, the sales. I want the sales to be killer sales. The sales is hard. Having things on sale gets complicated fast. So the main brands kind of make it straightforward. They tell you when you can have a sale and when you can't. But as we start making some of our own stuff, it's well, what do you put on sale? When? How often? Does it break other things? Does it work with the welcome code? Does it break other stuff? And then we're going to be starting gifts at the cart. So that gets complicated because that doesn't, you can't have something on sale so much that you can't afford to give the gift at the cart. And so how expensive can the gift be relative to what you spend? Because if you buy stuff at Uline, you spend $1,000, you can get a knife. And if you spend $2,000, which is really easy to do at Uline when you're buying boxes, you get a barbecue. It's you get these random gifts. Well, I don't want the gifts to be shitty, and I don't want it to be $1,000 for a knife, right? I want the value of that gift to be pretty kind of shockingly high, and multiple things. So you're rewarded every time you come to the store for something. So every layer we try to add to the shop is adds complexity quite a bit. I think it's important to articulate and even express out loud what the goal is, so you're more likely to achieve it. I would like to answer all the questions, but I'd like there to be three, 4, or 5 books, depending how we want to break it out. More books, the simpler each one would be. Less books, the more complicated. But every year, a new version would be printable. And so we would update it throughout the year. The ebook itself would be free. The book itself, the whole big picture here, the book itself would be a gift at the cart. So anybody who's ordering stuff from the website can have a free book. And anybody who doesn't want to buy or can't buy, it's international, whatever, can enjoy a free book, ebook in that case. So that the books get regularly updated all the time, that we can break stuff faster than people are asking the questions, that we have break tests that can do cyclic loading, displacement, obviously the break tests we already do, environmental testing, rub tests, cut tests, drop tests. It's really hard to have a drop tower outside. It rains almost every day here in Seattle. So if I had an indoor drop tower, we'd be able to do a lot more of that kind of testing. So if I could work 40 hours or less and all of these things be accomplished with people who are smarter than me at some of these departments, that would feel very successful, and I can afford it. That would feel really, really successful. We'd be able to pump out, I won't do more than 2 or 3 longs on this channel in a week, 7 reels, 7 shorts a week, 7 image posts like graphs or charts, whatever we're pumping out. I don't want it to just be spammy shit. I want it to be like this little nerdy, and annual updates on the books. And then if we have too much content, we would do a Saturday and Wednesday email. But right now I'm just trying to aim for just the one. So that we did the thing. That's really cool. And I work 40 hours a week, and then I get to go enjoy these sports that I talk about. That is the North Star. A side benefit that I guess I wasn't expecting to doing all this is how much I get to steer what is being made. A lot of people who have no business starting a business have great ideas and no money or no momentum, or like it only takes 1 or 2 customers to like ask for a thing, and we will go spend 10 grand to bring the category in. Like, doesn't take that much to get somebody to steer what we do. When I can place an order for 20 grand on anybody's idea that I think is viable, they go, really? And then they do it. And there's many things that are coming to market because we're able to buy it. We're able to steer it. We tell them, can you make it more like this? If the whole Z3 drill-powered pulley thing, that's a really innovative tool that I think is going to really help change rope access. And that gets into the whole tariff thing. But wow, I really, I just came up with their motto for them today. I talk to them every single day. We steer their wheel shape. We steer how the buttons work. And Chase, my engineer, and I are probably going to be going to China here in the next month or 2 because we're going to work on their assembly line. They're moving to a new factory. I want to make sure they're up and running before we do that, because I really heavily am considering whether or not we're going to make them here. Give the man what he wants. He wants jobs back in America. You're going to get 1 manufacturing job. But if this technology is so helpful for this industry I'm going to be getting into as soon as I have done all the climbing, caving, canyon stuff, rope access, to enter into that world, being the distributor or even the help creator of these drill power pulleys, sick. That is sick. I didn't start this thinking that was going to happen. So the brake tests we do, we learn a lot of stuff, but I also know what sucks and what doesn't suck. And the feedback loop I get from you guys is really helpful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to bed. It's 9 o'clock at night. What I'm going to do when I wake up in the morning is I'm going to open up the shop a half an hour before anybody gets there and kind of walk you through what and how we've got things set up there. And we'll just finish the video there because I think it's nice to see a little bit of a tour. Right before we go, I'm going to turn this on. I film most of my things with this, if you couldn't tell. And I'll walk you around kind of what we got going on here at my house at the lab. And we'll turn that off. And that battery's probably dead. You already know how the brake test machine works, but the things that I'm pretty excited about that is new-ish and I don't really ever bring up is weird things like this I'm excited about, because it's kind of hard with one hand. If I just turn this knob, this whole thing's articulating. This joint, and this joint all move. And that just makes positioning this right where I want for a filming to be a lot easier. Having these help, but also this is really cool that we can, this is our own software. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, we're going in that direction, right? And so we have figured out how to print what we call defenders and protect these cables a little bit. And this just helps not, things hit this so much. So it protects the cable, all of that. And there's no more computer on this side. And then we're going to be making this box a little bit sexier. And if we do really dial in this whole process, like the whole Slack Snap thing is making whatever we're going to do available for everyone. Little things like putting bolts in these tables, make them better. But also we put rubber feet on here so it doesn't vibrate so much, because it's really annoying to run these tests. Now, the next thing we need to do for this is to get an edge that keeps this clean, because fuzz gets built up here and you don't want the edge to move, but you want that to get clean. So the rest of the machine's pretty good though. Having this tripod was really helpful because I couldn't put a life supporting bolt in the ceiling just the way it's built. So that has allowed us to do several episode or demos that we couldn't otherwise do. And I don't want to blur out license plates, so there you go. This is Slack Snap with all the things and Z3s that we're tapping and ropes that I'm testing and interesting things for me to brake test later. And we are 3D printing things. It is really nice to have that thing running all the time. And you can see that Chase is deep in the wheels of the Z3s. So that project is still going on. I do appreciate how organized he is. This is really awesome. I do love that. We're getting more and more tools as we play with more and more Slack Snap stuff and play with Z3s. I definitely need a better table than this for the saw. But these are two ropes that I'm going to be testing, where you have H&P Vectrin and then the core is H&PE, and this one has a nylon core. And that's just really, really interesting. Without a story, you probably don't think it is, but believe me, you'll enjoy it. Here are defenders for the line scale 3. And here is the load cell graveyard of projects that shapes or sizes or software that we're just either working on or changing all the time. And this is sick. I've been working on this video for 4 months. This, by the way, is the strongest sling in the world of that diameter. And this load cell has a rubber case that protects it really well. And this is the strongest pulley that only weighs 5 pounds. And this is a pulley set to break things out in the wild. And this protects the pulleys and keeps it together nicely. And that weighs 50 pounds and can pull up to 50 kilonewtons. And that's not just so we can go brake test stuff. There are people who hit me up all the time because I'm the brake test guy, and they struggle to go do this stuff out on their own. And you could just order that bag when we're done with it, and you would have a whole video showing you how to use it, and you go do what we're doing on this channel. Please don't get hurt. We're not just trying to solve problems for ourselves. We're trying to solve problems for anybody who wants to do the things that we're doing. Now, I'll see you in the morning at the store. Welcome to tomorrow morning. It is 6 a.m. and no one is here yet. So let me walk you through the shop. Oh boy. There is a whole bunch of H&PE in here. And you're probably gonna see a lot of it. More of it there. stuff from Climbing Taiwan. This is our restocking station. These are our aisles of stuff. I've had other videos about this. This is our packing room. We have a station there and a station there with identical setups on both sides, so we can have two things going on at once. This is our by the foot room, which I am really concerned about outgrowing. And we don't hot knife as much as we used to, but we do have a way to vent it out that goes out the back door so it doesn't stink up the store. This is theoretically the kitchen, where we have, basically, these are all the different diameters that we separated out. It just takes so much work to process it all. There's some more. The other light is way back here. And these are all of our new Mammut things. What's nice about adding two racks here is we were able to put plywood and pegboard on one side. And so we kind of created this aisle that wasn't here before, giving us a ton more room. And this used to be our box room where we just used to have a ton of boxes. And now we were able to squeeze in a whole bunch more racks, kind of a quiet zone if somebody needs to work. This is pretty ridiculous. So I'm gonna move a bunch of this right now, and then I'm gonna sit here and chat with you guys. So we have different processes that we do here that is on the behind the scenes channel. Don't need to get into the weeds of specific things in the store. This is just big picture stuff of where we're at, where we're going. So this building is about 2,000 square feet, and it's can carry about $1 million worth of inventory. So we have 2 storage units right now that are not full, and that's where all this stuff's gonna go once it's processed. We're trying to only keep 2 weeks worth of stuff here, and so we are very bootstrappy in everything we do. We run basically everything off of a Google Sheet empire, and we have somebody who can just do amazing things with scripts and plug it into what we have with Shopify. And so we're able to extract out what we have sold in the most in 1 week throughout the year. And we're doubled that. And that's what's going to be in the store. And it'll be about $500,000 in the shelf. And then basically $500,000 will be sitting in storage units. And every week we'll be going over there to top ourselves off. So that's the idea from a space constraint. You don't want to have more space than you need because space is expensive. There's this weird balance where you need to always be hitting the line of how much space, cash, and people that you have. I've never had someone who's worked for us in the painting world sit home a day that they wanted to work. We would always go out and hustle to get work, and that's construction. That's typically not the case in construction. And so I still carry that ethos where if you want to get hours in, that I will find a way to make sure you can do that if this is your source of your income. And so you don't want to overhire, because that in this situation, you don't want 10 people packing boxes if there's not enough orders consistently. We do, oddly enough, though, have fairly consistent orders. Yeah, it'll range from 50 to 200 in a day, but there's still, you don't want to have too many people, right? And then you don't want too many people watering down a bonus pot. The REI method, and I just throw them under the bus, is they definitely overhire, and then you barely get your hours in. And I don't really want to operate that way. There's so many things to do here, luckily, that if we did have too many people on one day, that I might be able to pull them over into the lab and help us break 100 ropes or something. Or go deeper into the website. I constantly find issues on the website. We call it the 5-minute game, where the goal is that you can spend 5 minutes on the website without finding a gross error. So we carry these Barryvox transceivers now, and there was no collection page, or they wasn't showing up on the filters of the mega menu. So it's an entirely new category for us. So we're constantly playing whack-a-mole with trying to keep the website good. Somebody could sit home all day and work on that. Currently, we have 6 generalists in the store and 1 COO. And we're probably going to go 7 or 8 to give people flexibility, because the other side of that is if people want to go climbing, we do hire climbers, right? and it's sunny in Seattle, people should be able to go enjoy life. So it's very difficult to create a business where you can create flexibility and reliability for the people that work here. And so we pretty much can nail that. We do have to have a minimum of 3 people here every day. And if we hit a sweet spot of having enough people, then that's never an issue. But we are not very far away from being done with the brake test machines, and then they need to be manufactured. So where are we going to do that? Well, that opens up a can of worms, because the whole tariff thing, that opens up other cans of worms. And so can we put the same worms in the same can? Are we going to need to make drill-powered pulleys here in the States? A quick search says U.S. has bauxite resources, but does not mine them for aluminum production. So you couldn't even get the aluminum in the USA if you wanted to completely make it in the USA. But I'm not trying to do what Louis Vuitton did by putting a single button on their bag and saying made in Italy. So if we are going to be considering making the Z3s here and all the other variations that are going to be coming out of that, and we're going to be making brake test machines, do I rent the building next door? Because it's expensive. Or do I move the whole thing somewhere less expensive? I like the location where we are now in Issaquah, Washington. It's right off I-90. It's central to where everyone who works here is, because that's where we were when everybody signed up to work here. It's close to my house. So I'm not eager to just move. And if we are going to move, is it worth, like, how much is this whole thing going to expand? Like, this thing has kind of expanded more than I was anticipating already. So if we can be the Uber Eats of gear for rope access in big cities, like, can we add that value to companies that are trying to work on job sites, or arborists who don't always know they need something until they get to the job site, and it'd be really nice if somebody could drive them the thing. And if we did that, we could plant small 2,000 square foot, $1 million on the shelf things all over the big cities around the US, which is an excuse to have them everywhere. It could help pay for being small and dispersed rather than single warehouse spread out. And by doing that, we'd be able to have 1 or 2 day shipping to almost anybody in the US if we strategically put them there. So, like, if we start manufacturing, if we start going countrywide, and then the international thing gets brought up, right? Because we are the distributor of Z3s in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. And so those are going to be getting shipped out of Taiwan, from Climbing Taiwan, because he's going to distribute them from there, so we're not crossing dotted lines. So we're trying to solve not having things come into the US and then leave again during a tariff war. Now, it is pretty frustrating when people say, oh, tariffs are back down. They're down to 30%. And I'm like, no, that's more than double of what they were. Trump 1.0 has 25% tariffs, and then this latest thing has come back down to 30%. So that's a total of 55%. And 55% is, it's like not bad enough to go through the hassles of making stuff here, but it's like a double. And it's a direct relationship to what the MSRP is. So if we do nothing, drill powered pulleys are already $2,600, $2,500. Could easily be $3,000, and like, that's too much money. Like, there's a sweet spot in what people can afford to pay for those things, and I want to hit it. Otherwise, they haven't solved the problem they were intending to solve. By the way, I've gotten notices from Sterling, ironically, a US company, Black Diamond. We know they get their stuff everywhere. That's how supply chains work. I just got one from DMM. Prices have gone up 25%. Like, that's a lot. Like, almost across the whole board of their entire product line. That's a lot. I just don't think everyone realizes China doesn't pay the tariff. We do as consumers. It's complex trying to be a good company for the people that work here, be a good store for the people who buy from here, and being a helpful YouTube channel. Because being a YouTube channel on its own is a job. It's a team's worth of work. And so I think we're doing okay for being bootstrappy. The vision is that the content would be really, really good, that we would carry everything, that we would solve all these problems we're discovering, and that we would be a really great place to work for. But I think that is a journey, not a destination. And I am almost to the point where I can really, really enjoy that journey once I unload a few more of these jobs, and the growth of this channel, I think, is going in the right direction to hit that target. And then we become sustainable. If you see a lot of YouTube channels, they'll burn out at 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, and at 10 years. Those are like these milestones that people stop because the hamster wheel is a lot of work. But if you can offload a lot of that, then it's a lot of fun to be able to do it. And what's crazy is for every problem I solve, I find 3 more. The amount of trash, like you saw these cardboard boxes, right? And in cardboard's fine, but you see they're all wrapped in plastic, and you see that we're literally gonna invent a coiling machine so this never happens again, where this spool comes, it's 30 meters of 5 mil, and it comes on this spool, which doesn't even fill it all up. Now, spools can be an efficient way to transport rope, but it really sucks if they're not on a spool and coiled up. And so it's like, I don't want to give somebody like this difficult thing to uncoil. Back to this rope. You can see it's butterflied at the factory, and that strap right there is what holds it together. That's the vision. So, it's already been invented. Yeah, have you seen the size of that machine? It literally would take up this freaking room. So I need something that is on wheels and does not take up the size of this room. I need to bootstrap everything we do in order to be able to pull it off before we're big and have made it. So I don't like how much waste there is. This is just this, right? This is just a factory we ordered from. Don't need to throw names out there, but the big brands, they're pretty wasteful in their packaging, sending them stuff to us. So let me show you this. I'll kick this horse as I go by. This is comes down to a legal issue, right? Look how much paper there is. And if you put 30 of these carabiners in a box, that's insane. I'm just saying, that's insane. And all of this, that's not ours. This is us unpackaging other stuff and then reusing it to tightly package what we send to you. So everything that we pack is fairly tight, requiring very little of that. And we have still never used up, I think, an entire roll of this that we bought for packaging, because there's so much trash that comes our way. When you move $5 million worth of product in a year, it is like, I've never done that before, right? So it's insightful. And so it makes me want to try to solve as much of that problem as I can in my own way. And whenever we solve problems, we try to solve them in a way that other people can benefit from that. So let's wrap this up. This video is way too long, probably. And we'll talk about where I think we're going to be in the end of the summer. I think we will have doubled by then, because we are going to have unlimited access to the drill-powered pulleys. They just moved their factory, right? And if they're not able to produce them, we would start to work on that, but that would take 3-4 months to do. I think that would get our foot in the door into the rope access world more. And you just don't need, if you sell 2 of them, you kind of double what we sell in a day, right? So you got to sell a lot of light wires to make up what one Z3 sale is. And for every dollar that we can save, it goes back into this. And so we'll be adding and doubling our inventory, hopefully. We're going to be doubling our content, and SlackSnap should be getting products that are going to make it self-sustainable, because right now I pay out of my pocket to have an engineer on staff. Ideally, SlackSnap makes that to where I have an engineer on staff. It doesn't cost us money. So if we double our team, we would probably need more space. So we'd be about $2 million a year in bills. That is, these numbers are very weird to say out loud. And we'd be doing about 10 million a year in sales. And that still sounds like it pencils, like it would be sustainable. And it sounds like we could have enough people on the team by that point to be able to do everything I've talked about. Because my goal at that point would only be to work 40 hours a week. I would probably have $600,000 in payroll if I were to unload all the things that I do and just be the talent. Which, by the way, that is another big thing I really want to fix. There is way too much of me on this channel. And it's just, that's the nature of how this channel works. But I would love to have other hosts. So not everybody likes me. I don't need to be on the internet as much as I am. I just am because it's bootstrappy. There's no one else to be on this channel delivering what I can deliver regularly. Now, if Bobby comes on full time, you'll see him more sprinkled in the videos. And hopefully we can have more people who can be in on-camera positions. Right now, we're just hiring for that producer role. So that's enough yakking at you guys. Look for the anniversary video on September 9th and see if we've hit 10 million a year, which is $28,000 a day. I base my day sales and I extrapolate out to what that would be all year because they are fairly stable once we hit them. So let's see if we're there. Let's see how many people we get. Let's see if I actually have a book in production ready for print. That'd be pretty cool. Thanks for joining the journey. Thanks for watching a long video. I always appreciate being able to share this much stuff of the behind the scenes and the noise that's in my head. See you in a couple months.